perimeter and area. And this is from chapter 7, and we're actually on page 394. It says, Lesson 4, Perimeter and Area. Perimeter is the distance around a figure. To find perimeter, simply add the lengths of the sides. For common figures, you can apply a formula to find the perimeter. You need to memorize these formulas. So yeah, the square formula, which is just 4 times all of the sides because all the sides are equal. The rectangle, you add 2 times the length plus 2 times the width, because remember what we learned in a previous lesson, that opposite sides are equal with the rectangle. So that's why you add 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. Now the perimeter, you have all 3 sides added together, and they just said side A plus side B plus side C. Now, example 1. Well, let's go right to area. It says area is the measure of the space inside a flat figure. Area is measured in square units. For example, if the sides of a figure are measured in inches, its area would be measured in square inches. The formulas for finding area are shown below. So the square, since all the sides are equal, you would just take the side to the second power, and that would give you the square. The rectangle, you would take length times width. The parallelogram, you would take base times height. Triangle, half of base times height. And the trapezoid is half of the height times base 1 plus base 2. Now, near the bottom of this page here, we have these figures here, which is showing you what is what as far as determining the area. If you notice here, the height in some of these would be this dotted line, like the height here for a triangle and a trapezoid, and even a parallelogram would be this dotted line. Now, the next thing with the trapezoid said base 1 plus base 2. Base 1 is the shortest side, base 2 is the longer side. So you would just take the height, half of the height, times the addition of base 1 and base 2. And then here you notice that with the parallelogram, the base is here. I mean, it really doesn't matter as far as with the parallelogram. It could be at the top or the bottom, because the top and bottom of a parallelogram are the same length. And then the height. Okay, now let's scroll down here. Oh, just to prove the statement I just made, if you look at the parallelogram here, you notice that both of them has the one line here showing that they're equal to each other. Now we go down here to practice 4. It says, and we're on page 395 now. It says, find the area and perimeter of each figure. Okay, so first we have to determine what the figure is. The first figure is a triangle for problem number 1. So we know with the triangle, we know the perimeter of a triangle is all of the sides A plus B plus C added together. Now the area of a triangle is half times the base times the height. Now let's go through and we could list our A, B, and C for the perimeter. A, we could make it 7.8, B could be 10, and C could be 13. Now when we add all these together, it will give us 30.8. Okay, now the area, we have half. Now the base here would be 13. And the height right here would be 6. So now when we multiply these together, it will give us 39. Now you can put that in your calculator, or you could have multiplied this out. Either one is fine. But let me show it in your calculator since I haven't showed much on a calculator lately. So first thing we would do, we'll hit N over D. We hit the 1, down arrow, 2, right arrow. So that takes care of the half. we'll do parenthesis. 13, close the parenthesis, open the parenthesis, 6, close the parenthesis, press enter. It's 39. All right. Now, that's problem number 1. Problem number 2. We have a square. So we know the perimeter of a square is 4 times the side. And then the area of the square is the side squared. So now we have 4 times the side here is 4. So 4 times 4 is 16. That took care of the perimeter. The area, one side is 4, and that's squared, which is 16. Now this is a rare case where your perimeter and area are equal to the same. That doesn't usually happen. So just to let you all know. Okay, now, for problem number 3. Okay, we have a rectangle here. The perimeter of a rectangle is 2 times the length. I'm going to make it capital, because so you will know that that's an L. 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. And the area is equal to length times width. Okay, now, with this here, unlike the triangle where your letters could be different, with the rectangle, your length and width are going to be the same. So what I want to do first is write out what length is equal to and what the width is equal to. So here the length is typically the longer side. So that's 32, and your width is how wide it is, which is 20. So we could substitute. So perimeter is equal to 2 times the length is 32, plus 2 times the width is 20. So this would be 64 plus 40, which would be 104. So your perimeter would be 104. Your area, the length is 32, the width is 20. When you multiply these two, it'll give you 640. All right, so now that took care of number 3. Now we go to number 4 with the parallelogram. So the parallelogram, it does not give you the perimeter of a parallelogram. But here's the thing with the parallelogram. Since opposite sides are equal, you could actually use the same formula that you use for the perimeter of a rectangle, which is 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. You can actually use that same formula for the parallelogram. Now, as far as area is concerned, the area of a parallelogram is the base times the height. So, now let's take a look. The length and the width here, we'll say the length is 8 and the width is 4.3. So now we can substitute. So we have P is equal to 2 times 8 plus 2 times 4.3. 2 times 8 is 16. 2 times 4.3 is 8.6. So this here will give you 24.6. So that right there would be your perimeter, 24.6. Now the area. Now if we look here, the base here would be 8. And then the height, which is given here, is 3.7. So we have the base is 8 and the height is 3.7. So now we can multiply that. 8 times 7 is 56. Carry our 5. 8 times 3 is 24. Plus 5 is 29. So it'd be 29.6. That would be your area. So that took care of problem number 5. Now we're going to go to problem number 6. Oh, I'm sorry, that was problem number 4. We're going to go to problem number 5 now. If you notice here, we have a trapezoid. Trapezoid, we would just add all of the sides. So it'd be 14, 24, 42, and 29. So we could put this in our calculator, or we could just add it out by hand. So 14 and 24 is 38. 38 and 42 is 80, plus 29 is 109. So that's how much the perimeter is of the trapezoid. Now the area of a trapezoid is 1/2 times the height times the B1 plus B2. All right, so now we're going to go through and substitute. So first of all, we see the height here is 22. And then base 1, the top is 14. The shorter side is base 1. Base 2 is the longer side, which is 42. So we have 1/2 times 22 times 14 plus 42 is 56. So we could put that in our calculator. So we could hit N over D, 1 for the top, 2 for the bottom, and we'll do a parenthesis, 22, close that parenthesis, open parenthesis, 56, close the parenthesis and press enter. So that's 616. Okay, now we look here at problem number 6. Problem number 6 is really just a parallelogram. So what we could do here is, for the perimeter, we could still use 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. Now the area of a parallelogram is the base times the height. So the length here, we could say is 12. The width is 4. And then we could do the height. They gave us the height, which is 9.5. And then our base for our parallelogram would be 12. Okay, so now what we would do is this here. So now we'll move on to problem number 6. Okay, that is basically a parallelogram. So we can use for the perimeter 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. And then we will have here our length. It says 12, and our width is 4. Now for the area is base times height. Now height is spelled out for us at 9.5. But the base here, remember with the parallelogram, we look at the top to the bottom. The base here is 4. Okay, so now we can substitute. So the perimeter, we had 2 times 12 plus 2 times 4. 2 times 12 is 24. 2 times 4 is 8. So it'd be 32 is the perimeter. Okay, now we need to do the area. The base is 4, and the height is 9.5. 4 times 9.5 would be 38. So that's your area. So the perimeter is 32, the area is 38. Now we move on here. We scroll down here, it says B. Choose the one best answer to each question. Question 7 refers to the following figure. Okay, now, what is the area in square inches of the shaded portion of the rectangle? Now, they do tell us what the shaded portion is, because you notice here this 9 is with the shaded portion, this 8 is too, and this 5. Now, they want the area of the shaded portion. So the shaded portion is actually, looks more like a trapezoid. but they say the shaded portion of the rectangle. So with that being said, we are going to have to, so even though it says rectangle, we're still going to treat this as a trapezoid because that's what this shaded portion is. So we have this here. So we look at the formula for the trapezoid area. So area is equal to half times the height times base 1 plus base 2. So now we'll go through. The height here would be 8. And then we'll do base 1, which would be 5, and base 2, which would be 9. Okay, so now we have A is equal to the 1/2 times 8, and 5 plus 9 is 14. Okay, so when we put this in our calculator, we'll hit N over D. So that's 1/2. Right arrow, we'll do parenthesis 8, and then parenthesis 14. Press enter, and that will give us 56. And that will be our answer. Now, I don't think, yeah, they did tell us to put this as square inches. So it'd be inches squared. So our answer here would be C. Okay, number 8. It says the four sides of a rectangle measure 9 feet, 6 feet, 9 feet, 6 feet. What is the area of the rectangle in square feet? Now remember, the rectangle's area is length times width. Now we know that opposite sides are equal with a rectangle. So just to give a visual representation, we know this would be 9 feet, 9 feet, 6 feet, 6 feet. That's a visual representation. So we know the length would be 9 and the width would be 6. So the area would be 54 square feet, which would be C. Okay, number 9. It says Martin is building a rectangular patio center on one side of his yard. The rest of the yard shown in the diagram is planted in grass. If the measurement and the diagram are in feet, what is the square footage of the grass portion of Martin's yard? Okay, so they said the grass portion. So, okay, now what they did here, they gave us composite figures. So you know, if the patio wasn't there, all of this would be covered with grass, and we would be done. We would just do length times width, 18 times 24. But we have to carve out the patio. So what we're going to do, we're going to take the large rectangle. I'm going to put LR for large rectangle, minus the small rectangle, which is SR. So the large rectangle is what you see, the main portion of the grass seed. So we would take that area, which would be, so we would take the area is length times width, and the area is equal to length times width. So this would be the large rectangle, which would be 18 times 24. And then the small rectangle, which would be 9 times 12. So we'll take, let me get this. So we'll take 18 times 24. That'll give us 432. And then we know 9 times 12 will give us 108. So now what we would do, we would subtract these two. We'll take the large rectangle minus the small rectangle. So the large rectangle is 432 minus the small rectangle, which is 108. So 432 minus 108 would give us 324. And then they wanted that in feet, I believe. Yeah, square footage. So that would be square feet. So our answer here would be C. Now this is what we typically would classify as a composite figure. But I guess they're giving you a little taste of it before we actually get to the section where we'll actually be doing composite figures. So now we come here to problem number 10. It says a square measures 6 centimeters on one side. What is the perimeter of the square in centimeters? So we know the perimeter of a square is 4 times a side. They tell us that the side here is 6 centimeters. So it's 4 times 6, which is 24. So your perimeter is 24 centimeters, which is B. And now we finished lesson 4, and I will upload this to YouTube. Have a wonderful